First Contact's Fatal Mistake. Supreme Hunter Thrax stood at the command center of the Apex Dominion's flagship, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the pale light of the unknown star system they had just entered. The Apex Dominion had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 cycles, their biological superiority unchallenged. As a species that evolved from the deadliest predators of their homeworld, they had never encountered a force they couldn't overcome through pure evolutionary advantage. Another primitive system, Thrax announced, his secondary appendages clicking in disappointment as he studied the holographic display of the third planet. Atmospheric composition suggests biological life, but the electromagnetic emissions are crude, barely above Level 2 civilization markers. His second-in-command, Hunter Valora, moved closer to the display. Her sensor filaments wavered as they processed the data. Supreme Hunter, there's something unusual about these readings. The species appears to be spreading rapidly across their planet, adapting to every biome. Our historical database shows no precedent for such rapid adaptation. Thrax dismissed her concerns with a wave of his primary limb. Primitive life forms often breed quickly before reaching evolutionary stability. Prepare the standard subjugation protocols. We'll add their genetic material to our database before proceeding with resource extraction. The Dominion's approach had always been the same. Arrive, demonstrate superiority, and watch as inferior species surrendered to their natural betters. It had worked flawlessly across 12,000 worlds. As the massive ship descended through the atmosphere, the first indication that something was different came from their defensive systems. Multiple primitive projectiles were approaching at high velocity, easily deflected by their energy shields. Fascinating, Thrax mused. They attempt to resist with kinetic weapons. Perhaps they'll provide more entertainment than expected. The second indication came moments later, when their shields suddenly failed. Impossible. Valora's sensor filaments whipped in agitation. The primitive projectiles, they contained some form of resonance technology. They synchronized with our shield frequency. Before Thrax could respond, a new wave of weapons struck the ship. These were different, sophisticated missiles that somehow bypassed their remaining defenses. The command center rocked with explosions. How? Thrax demanded, his crystalline form vibrating with rage. Their technology is primitive. They shouldn't be capable of. His words were cut short as a transmission cut through their communication system. The creature that appeared on their screen was soft-skinned, bipedal, with no natural armor or weapons visible. By all evolutionary metrics, it should have been prey. This is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. The creature spoke, its voice translated by their systems. Your unprovoked approach to Earth has been deemed hostile. We've studied your kind since you entered our solar system. Your biological supremacy means nothing here. You face a species that evolved not as apex predators, but as persistence hunters. We didn't dominate our world through natural weapons. We did it through intelligence, cooperation, and the ability to adapt any tool to our needs. Thrax's dismissive response died in his throat as more explosions rocked the ship. Their sensors showed hundreds of smaller craft emerging from the planet's surface and orbit, each employing different attack strategies. Some used electromagnetic pulses tuned specifically to disrupt Apex technology. Others deployed swarms of autonomous drones that attached themselves to the hull, somehow analyzing and counteracting their defense systems in real time. Impossible, Valora whispered. They're not just fighting. They're adapting to our responses as we make them. Each attack teaches them more about our capabilities. The Admiral's transmission continued. You evolved to be perfect predators. We evolved to outthink perfect predators. Your species stopped advancing because you relied on your natural superiority. Humanity never had that luxury. Everything we have, we had to invent. Every advantage we have, we had to earn through intelligence and determination. More ships were failing across the Apex fleet. Their weapons, unchanged for thousands of cycles because they had never needed improvement, were being systematically neutralized by an enemy that seemed to become more dangerous with each passing moment. "We could have met in peace," Admiral Chen said, his voice carrying no satisfaction, only grim determination. "We would have welcomed allies among the stars. Instead, you chose to see us as prey. That was your first and final mistake." Kithrax watched in disbelief as his mighty fleet was dismantled by a species he had dismissed as primitive. Their attacks showed not just technology, but strategies that no purely predatory species would conceive: complex coordination, sacrifice plays, and most disturbing of all, the ability to learn and adapt mid-battle. "Full retreat," he finally ordered, his proud voice cracking. "All ships, emergency temporal jump. We must warn the Dominion." As the remnants of his fleet flood into faster-than-light travel, Kithrax realized with growing horror that they had awakened something unprecedented in their galaxy, a species that had evolved not to be the perfect predator, but to outsmart them. The Apex Dominion had ruled through biological superiority, but they now faced an enemy whose very nature was to overcome superior opponents through intelligence and adaptability. The galaxy was about to change, and for the first time in 10,000 cycles, the Apex Dominion was not at the top of the evolutionary hierarchy. They had found a species that proved intelligence and adaptability were deadlier than any natural weapon, and they had made the fatal mistake of giving humanity a reason to fight. In the debris field that was once a third of the Apex fleet, Admiral Chen sent a message to Earth Command. First contact concluded. They came expecting prey. They found humanity instead. Prepare for what comes next. They'll be back, and next time, they'll be afraid. That makes them more dangerous. But it also confirms what we suspected. They can learn fear. We can work with that. The human response. 6 months after the first Apex incursion, Earth had transformed. Humanity, true to its nature, had taken the threat of alien invasion and turned it into an opportunity for unprecedented innovation and unity. Admiral Chen stood in the newly constructed orbital command center, watching holographic displays of Earth's defense network. What had begun as a hastily assembled defense force had evolved into something the galaxy had never seen before, a military doctrine that turned human adaptability into a weapon. "Show me the Titan array," he ordered, and the hologram shifted to display a network of satellites unlike anything humans had built before. Each satellite contained technology reverse-engineered from the debris of the Apex fleet, but modified in ways that would be completely alien to their former owners. Dr. Sarah Martinez, head of the Xenotechnology Division, approached with her latest report. "The Apex made a crucial mistake in their first attack," she said, her eyes gleaming with the excitement of discovery. "Their technology hasn't evolved in millennia. They built perfect weapons and never imagined they'd need to improve them. We've taken their perfect designs and found 1,000 ways to make them better." The hologram highlighted a particular satellite, showing its internal workings. What had once been Apex shield technology had been rebuilt with human ingenuity. Instead of creating impenetrable barriers, these shields could absorb energy and redirect it, turning enemy weapons against themselves. "Their evolutionary stagnation is our advantage," Sarah continued. "They stopped innovating because they never needed to. We've accomplished in 6 months what they couldn't imagine in 10,000 years." A warning klaxon interrupted their discussion. Lieutenant James Wong's voice came over the comm system. "Multiple temporal ruptures detected at the edge of the solar system. The Apex are back, and they've brought an armada." Admiral Chen's expression remained calm as he studied the incoming data. The Apex fleet was massive, easily 10 times the size of the force they'd defeated before. But size wasn't everything, and humanity had been preparing for this moment. "Initialize Project Prometheus," Chen ordered. Across Earth's orbit, thousands of seemingly defensive satellites suddenly transformed, revealing themselves as autonomous combat platforms. Each one contained a different combination of human and modified Apex technology, ensuring that no two units could be countered by the same strategy. The Apex fleet emerged from temporal space in perfect formation, their crystalline ships gleaming in the starlight. Supreme Hunter Kithrax, now bearing scars from their previous encounter, addressed Earth with all the arrogance his species could muster. "Humans," his transmitted message boomed, "you have earned the honor of witnessing the full might of the Apex Dominion. Surrender now, and we will make your extinction swift." Admiral Chen's response was simple. "Thank you for the combat data from our last encounter. We found it very educational." Before Kithrax could respond, humanity's new defense network sprang into action. The Titan array didn't just engage the Apex fleet. It began adapting to them in real time. Each satellite analyzed attack patterns and shared that information across the network, creating a constantly evolving defense strategy. The Apex ships fired their primary weapons, expecting to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer firepower. Instead, their energy beams were caught by the modified shield network, channeled through the Titan array, and redirected back at them with twice the power. "Impossible." Thrax's voice carried genuine fear now. "These primitives, they've taken our technology and corrupted it." "No," Chen responded. "We improved it. Evolution isn't just about developing natural weapons, Supreme Hunter. It's about adapting to overcome any challenge. Humanity faced countless predators on our rise to sapience. We didn't survive by being the strongest. We survived by being the smartest." The space around Earth had become a graveyard of crystalline ships. The Apex fleet's perfect formation had dissolved into chaos as they faced weapons and tactics that seemed to anticipate their every move. Their biological superiority meant nothing against an enemy that had turned combat itself into a form of evolution, learning and adapting faster than any natural process could match. Sarah watched the battle from the command center, her scientific mind analyzing the Apex's responses. "They're trying to adapt," she noted, "but they don't know how. Their entire civilization is built on the assumption that they achieved perfection millennia ago. They can't comprehend an enemy that treats perfection as a starting point rather than a destination." The battle reached its climax when humanity unveiled its masterstroke. A network of quantum-entangled drones that could predict Apex maneuvers before they occurred, using their own tactical patterns against them. The mighty armada that had arrived to exterminate humanity was instead being systematically dismantled by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive just months ago. As the last Apex ships fled or surrendered, Admiral Chen sent a final message to Supreme Hunter Kithrax. "Your species evolved to be the perfect predator. But humanity, we evolved to overcome our limitations. You've spent millennia celebrating your natural weapons. We've spent millennia learning to turn any tool, any technology, any idea into a weapon. You thought your evolution was complete. We know that evolution never stops." In the aftermath of humanity's second victory, the galaxy began to shift. News of the Apex Dominion's defeat spread across civilized space. Humanity had not just survived, they had taken the weapons of the galaxy's most feared species and improved them in ways their creators had never imagined. The age of biological supremacy was over. The era of human innovation had begun. The hunter becomes the hunted. The great hall of the Galactic Conclave hummed with tension as representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered for an emergency session. At the center of the vast chamber, displayed on enormous holographic screens, footage of the recent battle between humanity and the Apex Dominion played on loop. Species that had lived in fear of the Apex for millennia watched in stunned silence as the supposedly invincible predators fled from the weapons of a civilization they had dismissed as primitive. High Chancellor Zenterra, an ancient being of pure energy, addressed the assembly. For 10,000 cycles, the Apex Dominion has maintained order through fear and biological superiority. Now, a species barely out of its planetary age has not only defeated them but transformed their own weapons into something new. We must decide how to respond. In the shadows of the chamber, human ambassador Diana Wells listened quietly. Earth had not been invited to this session. Officially, They didn't even know it was happening. But humanity's new stealth technology, derived from studying apex cloaking systems, had advanced far beyond anything the galaxy's eldest species could detect. The humans are a threat to the natural order, declared Varax, an apex noble who had survived both battles. His crystalline form bore deep scars from human weapons. They take what they do not understand and twist it into abominations. They must be contained before they spread further. A ripple of nervous agreement spread through the chamber. Many species had grown comfortable with the old hierarchy, even if it meant living under apex dominion. The idea of a young race upending millennia of established order frightened them more than their former oppressors. Diana touched a hidden communicator, sending encrypted data back to Earth Command. Admiral Chen and his tactical team needed to hear this debate. Humanity's future in the galaxy might depend on how these species decided to react to their emergence. The humans lack any natural defenses, Varax continued, his voice dripping with contempt. No armor, no venom, no claws. They are soft, weak creatures who rely on artificial means to fight. This is not the natural way. A new voice cut through the chamber. Ambassador Lyra of the Sentinel Collective, a species known for their philosophical insights. Perhaps that is precisely why they defeated you, she said, her bioluminescent form pulsing thoughtfully. You evolved perfect natural weapons, and so you stopped evolving. Humans evolved perfect adaptability instead. Every weakness became a catalyst for innovation. They turned their soft skin into a reason to build better armor, their lack of claws into a reason to forge better weapons. The chamber erupted in debate. Diana noticed something fascinating. The younger species seemed more supportive of humanity, while the ancient races clung to their traditional views of biological supremacy. It reflected a divide in galactic society that humans could potentially use to their advantage. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, humanity was not waiting for the Conclave's decision. Earth's fleet, now enhanced with reverse-engineered apex technology, had begun a systematic campaign to dismantle the Dominion's power structure. But they weren't simply destroying their enemy. They were learning from each encounter, collecting data, and improving their understanding of both apex technology and tactics. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the EFSS Prometheus, humanity's first true battleship built with hybrid human apex technology. Status report on Operation Evolution, he commanded. Dr. Martinez's hologram appeared beside him. The apex are predictable, she reported. They've ruled so long through strength that they've forgotten how to adapt. Each battle follows the same patterns. They rely on overwhelming force, never considering that we might have counters ready. Our AI systems can predict their strategies with 94% accuracy now. And the new defense systems, better than we hoped. By combining their crystalline technology with our quantum computing, we've created shields that don't just block attacks, they learn from them. Every hit makes them stronger. The apex literally cannot use the same weapon twice against us effectively. The Prometheus's sensors suddenly lit up with multiple alerts. A massive apex fleet had emerged from temporal space, the largest one yet. But this time, something was different. The ships moved in chaotic patterns, abandoning their usual perfect formations. They're learning, Chen observed, a note of respect in his voice. Finally. But it was too late for the apex. Humanity hadn't just been fighting them. They had been preparing for this moment. As the apex fleet approached, they encountered not a defensive line, but a web of interconnected human technologies. Quantum-entangled drones predicted their movements. Modified apex shields absorbed and redirected their attacks. And most devastating of all, human AI systems analyzed and countered their new tactics in real time. Back in the conclave chamber, the debate reached its peak as reports of another human victory arrived. Diana Wells finally stepped out of the shadows, her cloaking field dissolving. The chamber fell silent as she approached the central platform. "We didn't come to the stars seeking war," she announced to the stunned assembly. "The apex forced that upon us. But now that we're here, You all face a choice. You can cling to old hierarchies based on natural weapons and evolutionary accidents, or you can embrace a new way, one where adaptation, innovation, and cooperation matter more than biological advantages. She gestured to the battle footage still playing above. Humanity doesn't want to rule through fear as the apex did. We want to learn, to grow, to help all species reach their full potential. Every weakness can become a strength if you have the will to adapt. That's the lesson humanity learned on Earth, and it's the lesson we offer to the galaxy. The chamber erupted in chaos, but Diana noticed more and more species nodding in agreement. The age of biological supremacy was ending. The era of endless adaptation had begun, and humanity, the species that had evolved to overcome every limitation, would lead the way, understanding the enemy. In the depths of the Apex Dominion's ancestral stronghold, Supreme Hunter Cathrax faced a reality his species had never contemplated in their 10,000 years of rule: extinction. Not through superior evolution or natural selection, but at the hands of creatures his kind had dismissed as prey. The last transmission from their outer defenses played before him, showing human ships systematically dismantling the most sophisticated defensive network in known space. But it wasn't just their technological superiority that terrified him. It was their methods. "They're not just defeating us," he observed to his war council, his crystalline form dulled with stress. "They're studying us. Every battle, every engagement, they learn more. They adapt faster than any species should be capable of." On the bridge of the ESS Prometheus, Admiral Chen watched the same battle with a different perspective. Beside him, Dr. Martinez had assembled a comprehensive analysis of apex biology and psychology, drawn from months of combat data and captured specimens. "Their greatest strength is their greatest weakness," she explained, gesturing to holographic displays of apex genetic structures. "They evolved to be perfect predators, and then they stopped. No redundant systems, no ability to adapt to changing circumstances. They achieved what they saw as perfection, and it became their prison." Chen nodded, studying the tactical displays. "And humans? We never stopped evolving," Martins continued, her eyes bright with understanding. "Not just biologically, but culturally, technologically. When we encountered a problem we couldn't solve with our bodies, we invented tools. When we faced predators we couldn't outfight, we learned to outsmart them. Every limitation became an opportunity for growth." The Prometheus's AI suddenly flagged an anomaly in the apex defensive patterns. The enemy ships were moving differently, attempting to adapt human-style tactical flexibility. But their attempts were crude, predictable, like watching an apex predator try to mimic the adaptability of its prey. "They're trying to copy our methods," Chen observed, "but they don't understand the fundamental principle. Our strength isn't in any single adaptation. It's in our ability to keep adapting." Deep in the apex stronghold, Thrax received reports of another defensive line breaching. His scientists had attempted to modify their weapons based on human designs, but each innovation was countered before it could be fully deployed. It was as if the humans could predict their adaptations before they made them. Supreme Hunter, one of his advisors, ventured, "Perhaps we should consider their offer of surrender." Cathrax's crystalline form vibrated with rage. "Surrender. To prey. We are the Apex Dominion. We are the perfect predators. And that's exactly why you'll lose," a new voice echoed through the chamber. The air shimmered as Diana Wells, the human ambassador, deactivated her cloaking field. She had infiltrated the very heart of the Apex Command using their own technology, modified beyond their ability to detect. "How dare you?" Cathrax began, but Diana cut him off. "You still don't understand," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Humanity hasn't just been fighting you. We've been studying you. Every battle, every encounter, taught us more about how you think, how you fight, how you evolved. And do you know what we learned?" She gestured to the battle displays showing yet another Apex defensive line falling to human forces. "You're not actually Apex predators. True apex predators understand adaptation. They know that survival means constantly evolving, constantly improving. You're more like a specialized species that evolved for a specific environment and can't handle change. Cathrax moved to attack, but found himself frozen. Human technology, derived from apex stasis fields, but evolved far beyond their original design, held him in place. Look at your history, Diana continued. 10,000 years of ruling through biological superiority, never needing to adapt or improve. While you celebrated your perfect natural weapons, humanity was learning to turn anything into a weapon. While you relied on your crystalline armor, we were learning to find weaknesses in any defense. She walked around the chamber, addressing the entire Apex War Council. Your scientists are trying to copy our methods now, aren't they? But it's not working, because you're trying to adapt the way you think we do, by finding one perfect solution. That's not how humanity works. We don't look for perfect solutions. We look for better ones, knowing we'll need to improve them again tomorrow. The chamber shook as human forces breached the stronghold's outer defenses. But instead of fear, Diana showed only sadness. You could have been our teachers, sharing the wisdom of an ancient spacefaring civilization. Instead, you chose to be our enemies and forced us to learn everything ourselves. And we learned more than you ever imagined possible. She touched her communicator, and holographic displays showed the full extent of human adaptation. Ships that combined apex crystalline technology with human innovation. Weapons that could predict and counter any apex tactic. Defenses that grew stronger with every attack. This is humanity's true strength, she declared. Not our weapons or our technology, but our understanding that there is no such thing as perfection. Only the endless journey of improvement. Every weakness is an opportunity to grow stronger. Every failure is a lesson that makes us better. The last apex defenses fell, and human forces entered the chamber. But they didn't come as conquerors. They came as scientists, engineers, and diplomats, ready to offer the apex dominion a choice: adapt or fade into extinction. Cathrax, released from the stasis field, faced the most difficult decision of his species' existence: continue fighting and ensure their extinction, or admit that their perceived perfection had become their greatest weakness, and learn to change. A new order. 1 year after the fall of the Apex Dominion stronghold, the galaxy had changed in ways none could have predicted. The Great Hall of the Galactic Conclave, once a symbol of rigid hierarchy and biological supremacy, now hosted a very different gathering. Supreme Hunter Cathrax, his crystalline form now modified with integrated technology, stood before the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds. Beside him, Admiral Chen and Ambassador Wells represented Earth. The scene would have been unthinkable just 2 years ago, predator and prey standing together as equals. We were wrong, Cathrax announced, his voice carrying none of its former arrogance. For 10,000 cycles, we believed that biological perfection was the pinnacle of evolution. We saw our natural weapons, our crystalline armor, as proof of our right to rule. But we had become like the extinct creatures in our own fossil record, perfectly adapted to an environment that no longer existed. The assembled delegates murmured among themselves. Many had been former vassals of the Apex Dominion, others had been neutral observers, but all had witnessed the unprecedented transformation of galactic society. Dr. Martinez, now head of the newly formed Interspecies Development Initiative, activated a holographic display showing the latest achievements of human-apex cooperation. Evolution isn't just about developing better natural weapons or defenses, she explained. It's about adapting to change, about finding new solutions to new problems. Humanity never had the luxury of biological perfection, so we had to perfect our ability to adapt instead. The display showed hybrid ships that combined Apex crystalline technology with human innovation, medical breakthroughs that merged biological and technological evolution, and defense systems that learned and improved with every engagement. But more impressive than the technology was the cultural transformation. Ambassador Wells stepped forward. When we first encountered the apex dominion, they saw us as prey to be conquered. We could have responded in kind after our victory, establishing our own dominion through superior technology and tactics. Instead, we chose a different path. The holographic display shifted to show the new Galactic Academy of Innovation, where species from across the galaxy now studied together, sharing their unique perspectives and abilities. Young Apex, their crystalline forms glinting with integrated human technology, worked alongside beings they once would have considered inferior. Former prey species contributed insights that their predatory counterparts had never considered. Humanity's greatest strength, Chen added, was never our weapons or our technology. It was our understanding that every perspective has value, that every weakness can become a strength if viewed from the right angle. We didn't just defeat the apex dominion, we helped them evolve beyond their limitations. Thrax nodded, his modified form a testament to this new philosophy. We thought we had achieved perfection, but perfection is stagnation. The human showed us that true strength lies in the ability to change, to grow, to see beyond our natural limitations. Our species had stopped evolving because we believed we had reached the peak. Now we understand that there is no peak, only endless possibility. The display showed scenes from across the galaxy. Species that had lived in fear of the apex for millennia were now emerging as innovators in their own right. The rigid hierarchy of biological supremacy had been replaced by a new order based on cooperation and continuous improvement. The galaxy faces challenges that no single species can solve alone, Diana declared. Climate change on 1,000 worlds, the approaching wave of intergalactic radiation, the quantum anomalies in the galactic core. These are problems that require more than natural weapons or perfect adaptations. They require the combined wisdom and creativity of all our peoples. A new ship appeared in the display, the first vessel designed and built through true interspecies cooperation. Its hull combined apex crystalline structures with human adaptive technology and innovations from a dozen other species. It represented not the dominance of any one approach, but the synthesis of many. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy, Chen said, not our technology or our weapons, but our example. Every species has something to contribute. Every perspective offers new possibilities. The future belongs not to the strongest or the most perfectly evolved, but to those willing to learn, to change, to grow. Githrak stepped forward once more. We ruled the galaxy through fear for 10,000 cycles, and in all that time, we created nothing truly new. In just 2 years of cooperation with humanity and other species, we have evolved more than we did in millennia of stagnation. This is the true meaning of adaptation. As the assembly concluded, Diana looked out at the gathered representatives. The galaxy had entered a new age, not one of predator and prey, not one of biological supremacy or technological dominance, but one of endless adaptation and growth. Humanity had come to the stars expecting to find either friends or enemies, but instead, they had found something more valuable. Students eager to learn the art of evolution itself. The age of the perfect predator was over. The era of perfect adaptability had begun. And in this new galaxy, every species, from the mightiest to the humblest, had a role to play in the greatest evolution of all, the evolution of civilization itself.